Have you ever been in a job interview and your mind just goes blank on a really key question? Well, today we're going to tackle one of the most common and honestly most confusing questions in all of software testing: the difference between verification and validation. They sound so similar, right? But getting them right shows you really know your stuff. So let's dive in and make sure you're ready to nail it. Okay, just picture it. You're in the interview. Everything's going great. And then the hiring manager leans in and asks you to explain the difference. It's a classic question for a reason. They're not just looking for some textbook definition. They're trying to see if you get the fundamental purpose of quality assurance. And trust me, nailing this answer sets an amazing tone for the rest of the conversation. So how do we make sure we get this right every single time? Well, we're going to start where the pros do, with the official industry standard definitions. Let's break them down. First up, verification. Now, the key things to grab onto here are objective evidence and specified requirements. To make this super simple, just think about building a house. Verification is like checking the construction against the architect's blueprints. Are the walls exactly where they're supposed to be? Is the electrical wiring up to code? It's all about following the plan precisely as it was written. And then, on the flip side, we have validation. The crucial phrase here is meets the needs of its stakeholders. So, back to our house analogy, this is the homeowner walking through the finished house and asking, does this kitchen layout actually work for my family? Or is there enough sunlight in the living room? It's not about the blueprints anymore. It's about whether the house is a comfortable, functional home for the actual people who are going to live in it. Let's really boil verification down to its essence. It all comes down to one single core question. And here it is. Are we building the product right? See the emphasis? The focus is entirely on the process. Are we following the plan correctly? This is where we do things like code reviews, design walkthroughs. It's the same as a building inspector reviewing the blueprints before a single brick has even been laid. That's a static check. We're inspecting the plans, not the finished house itself. Okay, so that's verification. Now, validation asks a slightly different but really critically important question. Did you catch that shift? Are we building the right product? Now the focus is on the outcome. Did we actually build the thing the user needed? This is where we get into dynamic testing, actually using the software. It's just like the homeowner turning on the showers and flushing the toilets in their new house to see if everything works the way they expected it to. They're interacting with the real finished product. All right, let's put it all together side by side so it really clicks. On one side, you've got verification. It's all about requirements, process, static checks, basically building the product right. And on the other side, you've got validation. This is about user needs, the final outcome, dynamic checks. In other words, building the right product. Think of it this way. One is about following the map correctly. The other is making sure the map actually leads to the destination you wanted to go to. Okay, so you've got the core difference down pat, but here's the little detail that's going to make you stand out from the crowd in an interview. We need to talk about a common oversimplification you absolutely need to avoid. You'll hear this all the time. It's a useful rule of thumb, but it's not the whole story. And just stating this as a hard and fast rule, that's a pretty common trap for junior testers to fall into. The reality is, it's a bit more nuanced. See, the method, static or dynamic, isn't what defines the process. The question you're asking is what really matters. For example, can you do validations statically without even having a finished product? Absolutely. Showing the blueprints to the future homeowner and asking them, hey, does this layout work for you? That's a form of static validation. You're checking if you're building the right product before you've even started building. So we've covered the theory, we've busted a common myth, but you might be wondering, okay, why does this distinction actually matter in the real world, on a real job? Here's the practical advice you really need to hear. Day to day on a real project, your team might just call all of this testing. The lines get blurry. But in an interview, it's a whole different story. Knowing this difference is a test of your fundamental knowledge. Being able to explain it clearly and, provide a simple example like our house analogy shows you're a pro who gets not just how to test, but why we test. So, I'll leave you with this final question to think about. Which one is more important to the person actually using the software? A product that's built perfectly to the specifications but doesn't actually solve their problem? Or a product that totally solves their problem but is maybe a little unstable? The truth is, they're two sides of the same quality coin. You need both verification and validation to create something truly great.